Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Texas Bigfoot Conference here in Jefferson, Texas. We are so happy to welcome artist Sybilla Irwin. You were speaking earlier today at the conference about your experience as an artist. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So, I work with people who have had impossible visitations and impossible encounters, who have kind of changed the fabric of their reality. So I work to recreate what it is that they saw.
Okay.
Because an image kind of takes the place of thousands of words. You know, you can try to describe and paint a picture for people, but I actually do create that image for people.
Interesting.
So, you know, some of these images are so burned into the people's minds.
Yeah.
Even if it's 30 or 40 years, it's still
absolutely.
just crystal clear.
Yes.
So they kind of impart that information. I've learned over time how to ask the right questions so that I can build that image in my mind, and then I put that on, you know, I create it for them and I send it to them, and then we just ping it back and forth. They tell me what's good and what I need to fix and we just keep tweaking it until they tell me it's perfect.
What led you into specifically this field of artwork?
Well, I became an investigator with the BFRO like in 2008. And so I found the BFRO website back in 99. And I was just like voraciously reading reports. I was absolutely fascinated. But I grew up in a house that was haunted, so I've always kind of known there was more to this reality, you know, than what we were kind of being told.
Sure.
So, and then I've always just been fascinated by stories of strange occurrences and stuff that people were seeing. And then after I became a BFRO investigator, I had an investigator from Wisconsin contact me and said, I know you're an artist. Would you be willing to, this woman found this image that looks sort of like what she saw, but this part's not right. Could you try fixing it for her? And I said, sure. So I did that, and then they kind of just kept rolling in. And then I thought it's kind of the perfect marriage of the field work that I love to do, and then also, getting to do my art skills, because I was kind of doing wildlife art before then.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask, were you doing like police sketch work or something like that?
No, I wasn't. There's only like one or two places in the United States where you can go to study that kind of forensic stuff. And I kind of looked into it for a while, but the closest one was in Florida. And at the time I was a single parent trying to raise kids, so couldn't do that. But I've been doing like photorealism wildlife art, and then I'm doing portraits too, so it's kind of this beautiful marriage of like the two. And then I discovered that it actually helped people, like some that were really really traumatized. It kind of is cathartic for them.
And I can fully appreciate what you're talking about, the fact that these images live in people's minds so viscerally. I remember I was probably about 4 years old, had to have been, because we were in a trailer house in Crosby, and we weren't there when I was 5. So had to have been pre-5 years old. I distinctly remember seeing, the only way I've put it my whole life is the devil.
Wow.
Shadowy figure with horns out by the swing set outside.
Oh, that just gave me chills.
Beckoning to me through the window. Remember it vividly to this day in my life. I'm 47 now.
And you can see it just like it was yesterday.
I see it in my mind's eye right now. I can see the thing calling to me outside.
To draw it for you,
I would love to.
Really?
I would love
awesome.
to. That, and I had a shadow being that was with me for a long time. And they can be. I remember, I am a horrible artist, but I have the best sketch that I could do of my shadow being.
I would love to see it.
And even having that, every once in a while when I run across it, there's almost a sense of relief, because there's a face to it.
Yeah.
Because I can see it. It's tangible. It's not just something that, I woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't move, and it was at the end of my bed, or it was grabbing me, things like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Seeing it now doesn't have the terror that the moment or the memory had. And it's really dulled the terror of the memory.
Yeah.
And like Lyle Blackburn was just talking in there about hunters, people who've been out for years and years, and they take big game and things like that. And when these Sasquatch come across their path or into their hunting path, they are frozen in fear.
Absolutely. I worked with a former Marine that, he says, I've been shot at. He says, I've never been as terrified. He was camping with his 2 young sons in Oklahoma, and there was enough moonlight that this thing literally just walked right up, and he could see the silhouette of it. He said, I had a pistol right next to me. He says, I was so terrified I could not move. I was literally frozen in fear. And he says, and I've been shot at before. He says, I've never experienced fear like that. He said, as soon as it walked up, he picked up his 2 boys. He threw them in the truck. They left everything.
Wow.
He put his gun and his 2 boys and the tent.
Wow.
And I know for a fact that it was there because when we went there to this place where it happened, it was still there. Man. Yeah, it was there. The ice chest was gone, though, but everything else was there.
Man.
Yeah, but here's a former Marine.
Yeah.
There's not
battle
much that scares
hardened.
him. Yeah.
And
a police officer. I worked with a police officer too. He'd been shot at, and he didn't even see. He just suddenly he was hunting for pigs out in his friend's land. He'd been out there hundreds of times. He said he walked to the back of his truck to relieve himself, and all of a sudden he got hit with a dread and a fear like he's never known in his life. He said, I didn't even think I was going to make it back to the door of my truck. I thought I was going to be ripped apart by something. He didn't hear anything or see anything, but the terror that he felt.
Yeah.
And he got in his truck. He said, I put that gun in my lap and I got the heck out of there. He said, I didn't even relax till I was miles away on the highway.
Wow.
And so I met him, and we went out to where it was. We found an incredible stick structure that's one of my favorite to this day that I've ever seen. And we found little footprints. And so we kind of think that maybe there was mom and baby were close, and they were telling him, you need to get out of here.
Yeah. We were talking a while ago with Adam Davies about local culture, things like that, and about stories that have persisted for a long time. And it's interesting that Native American cultures do not seek this creature out. There are some who claim utter communication with them, that they are literally a tribe on the other side of the trees. They traded with them. Things like that.
In fact, there's stories of them doing ceremonies. Yeah. Like them coming
together.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some reason, we go out and seek it. And it's strange. Maybe it's that, I guess, manifest destiny part of our Western European tradition, of go forth and conquer and do these things. Where do you fall on people's experiences with Bigfoot around cities? There's been a couple people I know of that have mentioned experiences in the Austin area, things like that.
Huh? And there's been people that these things have followed him home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder about whether some of these are truly physical, like the flesh and blood variety. Or,
sure.
Yeah. Or if not, because, I think they can be anywhere. I mean, there's been people who've looked out the window and they're walking down Main Street, at 2 in the morning. How do you go figure?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. And people ask me why do you do this? Why do you put yourself in a tent and let these things walk up to you? What is it in you?
Well, what is it?
That makes us seek this out.
And it's one of those. Is it a morbid curiosity? Is it?
It's for me, it's the experience.
Okay.
To have the experience.
Sure.
And there's just something in me that's kind of crazy, insane, I think.
Yeah.
That it's not like I like to be scared, because I don't.
But you like to experience.
But I do, and it's an adventure. And then
Yeah.
you get to be out in nature with some of your best friends, and most of the time nothing happens.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's a wood knock or
It's a 2 to
fleeting-
5% situation.
Yeah, but then every once in a while, something really massive happens, and
Yeah, and I definitely talk on the show regularly about the fact that I've got some paranormal investigative experience with a couple of groups many, many years ago, and I guess it's the same thing. It wasn't necessarily a morbid curiosity. It was more a curiosity of wanting to know what's going on
and wanting to experience it yourself, because you hear about. Eye glow, and I wanted to experience that. Well, I did. I got to see it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've got to see it in 2008.
Well, explain to the audience what that was like.
I'd had a thermal encounter the night before in this same tree line.
Now, a thermal encounter, for those that are not aware of what that is, explain to them what a thermal encounter
I
is.
had an $8,000 thermal camera. I know. A thermal eye, like XP200, but this camera has no capacity to record.
Yeah.
And the recording part didn't come in until like the next day, because this was the night before the expedition, so I didn't get to. It would have been the most incredible thermal encounter anyone's ever seen. I think this thing was just trying to figure out if I could see it. It was just, there was a guy who had crawled in his tent early, and something started throwing something at his tent. So he alerted me. I had the thermal camera. I turned it on. I walked to the corner of his tent, and I just put the thermal camera up, and immediately had a really decent heat signature.
Wow.
And which you're not expecting that.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I didn't immediately think, oh, that's a Sasquatch. I was like, okay, so that could be a raccoon, it could be an owl, it could be a whole bunch of things. And so I just held the camera there and waited.
Sure.
And then, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes. Time kind of goes really weird when you're, But all of a sudden, here comes this thing. It just, here comes the head and shoulder. I could see the head perfectly.
Wow.
The thermal hit was so good, because it was pretty close. And here comes the head, really slow, very, very slow, leans out, and is just looking at me. And I'm like, is this really happening?
Wow.
You get so excited, and then so you're wondering, okay, what's happening next? And then it just slowly went back in.
And nothing else after that.
Oh no! And then I just kept the camera there, and here it comes out the other side. Same thing, really, really slow, and then it goes back in, and then I don't see it for a while, and then the field of vision through the camera is pretty big. Well, the next thing I know, the ground kind of dropped away behind it. Well, it just moved from that tree to the tree next to it, and came up behind that tree, and started the whole thing again.
Interesting.
So it just kind of peekabooing with me, and then finally, I kind of snapped to my senses, and I turned to the group at the campfire and said, "Guys, I've been watching one this whole time." And so, so someone got up and came and stood behind me, and then of course eventually everybody's standing behind me, and so the Sasquatch at that point was like, "Oh, I must be busted."
Yeah.
And then it turned, and I got to see the entire profile as he walked off into the woods.
Wow.
And it was like a professional football player, with the head was so strangely positioned on its shoulders, it wasn't sitting on top like ours. It was really like a football player with huge pads and everything, and it just silently walked off in the woods.
Wow.
So the next night, me and Dennis Foll, Colorado investigator, are standing in the bed of a pickup, and other parts of the group were just in various places, and Dennis and I were standing there just kind of wondering if it would come back. And sure enough, and there, there's nobody shining any flashlights. We're not even using headlamps. We're just standing in the dark. Here comes this, white, two glowing white eyes, and I kind of elbowed Dennis, and I'm like, "You're seeing this, right?" And he goes like,
Wow.
"Yep, I'm seeing it." Just eye glow, like self-illuminating eyes. And so, your brain's going, how can this be? How can a biological entity have self-glowing eyes? But, there have been researchers who have actually seen that light cast on the leaves in front of
Wow.
the glowing. Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Crazy.
I've got to look more into that because I've definitely heard about the eye shine, things like that, and that is
shine
remarkable.
and eye glow.
Eye glow.
Two different things.
Yes, sorry.
But amazing. And so I think that's why you go. You go to hang out with your people that you love, because the people that are Sasquatchers, we're just kind of a unique breed of people. We love the outdoors. We love the mystery. We love the adventure, and we love being together and the discovery of, even if nothing happens, it's still a fabulous time.
Yeah. And one of the popular discussions that we have in our group on Facebook is Bigfoot real and animal or paranormal? Which camp do you fall into?
I really kind of think they're supernatural.
Okay.
I mean, I do believe that some are definitely flesh and blood, and some of them have been shot and killed, and I've worked with a couple. But I also have experienced it's like, where do you draw the line between like the paranormal and, I've had so many things. I mean, I have things move in my house when I was living on the habituation site. So is there a ghost in this house, or am I interacting with those guys? So I don't know. I believe that they're kind of a supernatural entity that can be physical when they want and non-physical when they don't.
Okay.
That's kind of where I fall.
Yeah, and like once again, there are a lot of camps in the Sasquatch community.
Yes, there are.
No different than in the UFO UAP community,
You're right.
the paranormal community, demonology community, what have you.
So true.
And regularly, Jason McClellan and I have the conversation of, do we believe that Bigfoot is a physical animal out there, cryptid, unknown species? Yes, absolutely. When it comes to the portals and everything else, might that be something else that is living off of our emotional architecture?
Yeah.
What we are familiar with, what we are comfortable with. It sees us and it feels the fact that, like, well, they would be okay with this encounter, but not with encountering me. So they use that form instead. Even that is a plausible possibility at this point. So.
And it kind of makes you wonder if there's other things out there taking the shape of a Sasquatch.
Exactly.
It's not really a Sasquatch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of people really are in the camp that the paranormal part removes from research. I think the two kind of go hand in hand. There's hard research. There's DNA, hair, footprint, everything else. But then there's the anomaly research.
Yes.
And the anomaly research is where the paranormal comes in, because you can't really discount some of that. If you're discounting that, then you're discounting a lot of
especially
modern
when
anecdotes.
You've experienced it yourself. I've experienced that. So what I think is going to happen eventually is I think more and more people are going to feel comfortable coming forward and telling us more about, like they kind of half share some stuff that they're comfortable sharing, and I'm thinking and hoping that more people are going to be willing to come forward and say, yes, this happened, but let me tell you about this other part that I didn't tell you about before.
Yeah.
But people are going to feel more comfortable talking about the paranormal aspect that they haven't really felt comfortable. I mean, people are still kind of warming up to the idea of being able to share their Sasquatch story. That's more mainstream now than it ever has.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's channels on television dedicated to it now.
Yeah.
And that's something that we speak about regularly on the show, is that overwhelming emotion of shame that seems to come along with these encounters, be it UFOs, UAP, alien abduction, close encounter, what have you, paranormal experiences with the spiritual or otherwise, and with Sasquatch and other cryptids. There is a full understanding and a ridicule and very little gray area in between.
Yeah.
And we need a lot more gray.
It needs to stop.
We need a lot more gray.
Marginalizing people that have had these experiences needs to stop.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, one of the prime examples I give regularly is we have a great community of listeners of this show, and in our online community that are, quote, targeted individuals. For better than 20 years, they have been saying that they are targeted with microwave technology, other electronic means, satellite weaponry. Literally the talk of crazy talk for the last 20 years until you start hearing about Havana syndrome and the immaculate concussion and our ambassadors that were hit with such weapons. So now you're investigating this, but those weapons don't exist. Okay. And if they exist to that point now, that means you've been playing with them for 20 or 30 years.
Time.
If they're handheld and can be used. So, we have to be careful how we ridicule people with their experiences, because it may seem crazy sauce right now, but that doesn't mean that 5 years from now when things happen, 5 years ago, the conversation of UFOs and UAPs would have never hit the floor of Congress. 2016? You'd have heard nothing.
Right.
It took from Lou Elizondo, December 17, 2017, to now. Took till 2022 for us to 5 years after the exposure on CNN. Took a year after that for them to say, yes, this is actual footage. Yeah. This is real. We took it.
And still they're hiding so much.
Now, we were talking earlier with Jason McClellan about there's a lot of people out there that think the alphabet agencies have knowledge of Sasquatch. Where do you fall on that?
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that there's teams of people who do occasionally have to take out.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like if a Sasquatch is killing people in an area and cannibalizing or stuff, they come in and take out the entire family because they have to once they start. I mean, humans, we're slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And I'm sure, much like a dog with a chicken, let them get a hold of one chicken, see what they do with every chicken after.
It's exactly
that
right.
That may be the same situation with Sasquatch. I don't know. Haven't met one yet.
I have a friend who's a researcher that was approached after one of the conferences that he spoke at, and this brother and sister approached him and said, can we speak to you privately? And they told him that their father told them on his deathbed that he was part of this team. And that's
wow.
Yeah, as he was dying, he wanted them to know.
Wow, do you hear about these deathbed confessions all the time, and on numerous avenues? This is the first time that I've heard of one in that realm, and I'd love to have you on further to flesh that out and talk about that, because there really is something strange going on in our national parks, be it missing 411 or what have you, or even the people that go missing Sasquatch hunting, stuff like that. As somebody out there in the field regularly doing this research, what advice would you give our viewers and listeners who are out there and want to go out and, I guess, get squatchy with it?
Yeah. Know your area really good, and when you get to your area, like the area you're going to research, clean it up, like with a fine-tooth comb, so that you know where everything is. Make yourself really familiar. If there's trash, pick it up and photograph if you want, or videotape, and just clean it up real good. Because what these typically do when they come in is so subtle that if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. Because they'll bring you little things, and they'll, if you're not really paying attention, you'll miss it because they're so subtle. And I think the scariest thing in the forest when you're by yourself is other human beings. Sometimes, yeah. I have to, be more cautious in regards to the other human being, especially now. So many people have been kind of, homeless, and so it's
even
drug-related stuff.
I was going to say, even beyond that, there are crop growers and all kinds of things out in the woods of national parks and state parks nowadays.
You have to be so careful and have some kind of satellite device.
Yeah.
Because most of the mountains you don't have cell phone service, so be sure that someone knows where you are at all times, and you can get satellite, 911 out if you need one. Yeah. Those little inReach things are fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. And even I always recommend people, if they're going out and doing things like that, if you are just bringing your cell phone, make sure that last known location is enabled.
Absolutely. And I
let somebody know where you're going.
I carry too. Well, and
despite what you think about 2A folks, when I was brought up hunting, things like that. If you have a sidearm, you bring it into the tree with you because there may be pigs on the way down. And guess who ain't going to let you down?
That's exactly right.
So, yeah, there's nothing you can do against a wild animal except defend yourself.
That's
so,
right, yeah.
Yeah, you really do have to be prepared for those eventualities, and you have to be ready for them. So going in uneducated, going in unprepared is dangerous.
Could be very dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much for the time today.
You're welcome.
Greatly
Thank
appreciate being able to finally get you over here.
Yes.
Let everybody know where they can go to get sketches done, where they can go if they have an experience that they would like illustrated.
Yeah, just go to my website, SybillaIrwin.com. Just hit the contact button, and that'll send me an email, and I'll get their email, and then I'll work in a time with them. I do not charge witnesses, so if someone's out there and wants a sketch, I'm not going to charge them for it. I don't do that. I don't believe in it. I think most people didn't ask for these experiences, and most of them, so many are traumatized. I'm not going to charge a person.
Wow, that's incredible.
Well,
that's incredible. Thank you so much for everything that you do, Sybilla, and all your research and everything that you're doing to help healing people post-encounter. Very, very important work. While you are online checking out all the important work of Sybilla Irwin, make sure to stop on by Curious Realm. That is where you can find all the episodes, all the content. It's where you can find our knowledge vault. It's where you can find our experiencer forum. Stop on by curiousrealm.com/story. Share your experience with us. We will be right back after this commercial break to wrap up our coverage of Texas Bigfoot Conference 2022 here in Jefferson, Texas. We'll be right back after this, folks.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Curious Realm. Stay tuned for more guests, forbidden topics, and hidden truths. Download the official Curious Realm app and view the Knowledge Vault on our website, curiousrealm.com. Follow us on social media by searching Curious Realm. Curious Realm is available on your favorite podcast services, as well as YouTube, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV through the APR TV app, available on all app markets. Curious Realm is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more great content or to become a sponsor of Curious Realm or other podcasts, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com today. Thanks for listening. Stay curious. And remember, the other side is always watching.